I was super excited as soon as I saw Elon tweet about the solar option for the Cybertruck. I think it would be one of the coolest things ever to know that if your vehicle is just sitting out in the sun, it's collecting energy and can use that to drive itself. Now, of course, it won't extend the range drastically. Elon estimated with the current surface area the Cybertruck offers, it could be around 15 miles a day, but then that he would also want to have some type of solar wing option so that things could fold out, and then perhaps you could get around 30 to 40 miles a day, which is approaching about the national average, about how far most people drive in a day. And a lot of people had doubts about this. In a YouTube channel that I would highly recommend, check him out in the description, is Synergy Files, because he broke down that it is technically possible with the current surface area of the Cybertruck to get around 15 miles a day of range, even accounting for the higher energy consumption of the Cybertruck because it is a much larger vehicle and the surface area required. And in his video, he detailed that the solar cells would basically have to extend to the very, very back of the truck all the way up past the glass roof option and covering the vault and everything in between, which technically is possible, but I imagine it could be on the cutting board for Tesla of things that, do we want to do this? Do we not want to do this? Because I know a lot of the key genius to the Cybertruck is efficiencies and there not being much configurations. You know, everything's the same color because there's no paint. There's only one size. There's only one type of wheel. So the fact that they're going to be building the same type of truck over and over again is what helps with mass production efficiencies. So there could end up being a lot of requirements to put solar on a Cybertruck, including that of, okay, I don't think Tesla is going to end up using transparent solar cells because they're very new in their technology phase and they don't seem ready for mass production yet. So if you do opt to have solar on your Cybertruck, that could result in not having the glass roof for people in the back seat. If you've seen some daytime interior shots of what the Cybertruck looks like with that glass roof, it looks really epic. It looks really cool. You know, you've got that awesome windshield and then lots of visibility for those in the backseat as well. Would you sacrifice that if the solar panel had to cover that up? The also tricky part of implementing solar would be the vault, which of course rolls and unrolls so you can access things in the bed easy when you need to and cover it up when you want protection. And adding solar panels to the vault would be a little bit technical because obviously the vault rolls up into the car and there are solar panels that you can roll and unroll. So it is theoretically possible that they could make some type of solar panels that still work with this type of vault, but it's usually the case that if you have some type of rollable solar panel, it's less efficient than the standard flat ones. Now, Tesla is obviously mass producing lots and lots of solar panels right now, so if anyone knows how to make this work, it's definitely them. They're manufacturing the cheapest solar panels in the industry, so it may require some clever re-engineering, but it is technically possible that they could make a Cybertruck with solar panels covering this surface area, allowing for 15 miles a day. But of course, I imagine this option would cost extra. And now you have the exact same debate you have with adding solar panels to your own house, which is that, okay, how much extra is this going to cost me up front? And how long is it going to take for me to save money by charging the vehicle just from the sunlight compared to how much it would cost me to charge the car just by plugging it in? Well, it's hard to know exactly because we don't know the precise measurements of efficiency the solar panels the Cybertruck would offer, and it varies from person to person how often they drive. What's your daily commute look like? You know, for some of us in the United States especially, it's average for us to drive around 30 miles a day, which in my opinion, that's still pretty good if you consider that, okay, a lot of people in California in particular have very, very sunny days throughout the year. So obviously, if you live in a cloudy or rainy climate, no, don't buy the solar Cybertruck, of course. But for those of you who have sun a lot of the time and you're averaging around 30 miles a day, that means half of the electricity that you could be using to drive could just be coming from the truck itself harnessing that energy. That is, if you do plan on having it parked in your driveway in a place that gets a lot of sun. Of course, there's a bunch of you out there that will want to keep the Cybertruck in a shaded spot or in a garage or something like that, in which case, again, the solar package wouldn't be good for you. But depending on how Tesla prices the solar package for the Cybertruck, it might make a lot of sense or it might not make much sense at all. So in a lot of situations like my own, I have a fairly large piece of land that I live on and there's a lot of sunlight hitting it all the time. It's rarely cloudy here. If I wanted to get a Cybertruck, since I'm working from home, I know it would feel kind of stupid to spend that much money on a truck if I don't really plan on using it, but just humor me for the sake of the example. If you're kind of a weekend warrior and you're someone who doesn't really go on a ton of road trips and just uses your vehicle for driving around town, and you're potentially driving less than 30 miles a day, in my case, over the span of this month, I'm driving an average of 10 miles a day. That could mean that I wouldn't have to even and plug in my Cybertruck. As long as it was sunny in the middle of the summer, it definitely is, I basically just get to drive the truck home, leave it in the driveway where it collects a lot of sun, and throughout the day, it will gain range from that, and when I'm ready to drive around, it will have that added range that can cover my daily driving habits. Obviously, I know not everyone's going to be in the same boat as me, and the solar package would probably not make sense for a ton of people out there, especially if you plan on doing a lot of road trips. You're probably going to have to plug in the Cybertruck anyway, and wherever you're plugging it in, more than likely it's in a shady spot where solar won't be that helpful. But even if it's not getting 15 miles a day, I think it's incredibly awesome to imagine that even throughout the day, if you're driving this thing to work or you're driving it on errands and it's out in the sun, it's gaining range just by sitting there. And no other car currently on the market can advertise that, not even another Tesla. You know, it's sitting there, it may be doing some software updates in the background. That's using power, you're losing range over time. Think of the example when people go on long trips and they have to park their car at an airport and then they fly away and go on some journey for a couple of weeks. If they bought that solar package, they wouldn't have to worry about their electric car slowly losing range over the course of their vacation. And then when they get back, they're like, holy crap, our battery's almost dead, we better charge fast. With the solar option on a Cybertruck, you could go on a long trip, and as long as you parked your truck out in a sunny place, which a lot of long-term parking at airports have, you would come back and now your Cybertruck has more range than when you left it. It may not be a common circumstance, but I do really love the idea that, okay, it's not going to be self-sufficient, okay? Unless Tesla finds a way to put these solar wings on there and you can get 30 to 40 miles a day, then no, okay? You'll still probably have to supercharge and plug it in on occasion, but you're still getting more range than anyone else who is just driving on the road or parked in a parking lot. All of that energy going to waste, just hitting their car, making it get hotter, that a Cybertruck, because of its larger surface area, is able to harness quite a bit of. You may be wondering why Tesla hasn't done solar on other vehicles in the past, and it mainly has to do with surface area. So if they did try to put solar on a Model S or a Model 3 or something like that, because of how small the cars are, and they're not very flat, so solar panels are not known for being as efficient when you try to curve them over the vehicle like a Model 3 or a Model Y would require. In those cases, you would get so little range that the cost effectiveness of it wouldn't really be worth it. Whereas because the Cybertruck is so dang large and so dang flat, you can put a decent amount of cells on there to get a reasonable amount of range that paying extra, my guess would be around $5,000 at checkout to have solar, could in the long run end up saving you money. It would take a few years, depending on your driving habits. It could take somewhere between 5 to 10 years of ownership before it's actually saving you money by getting the solar package on a truck. But I think a lot of people would just love the idea of the sheer convenience of it. You know, I'm totally on board with the idea of driving the truck home and then just leaving in the driveway. I don't even have to grab a cable. I don't even have to plug the truck in, which is a step everyone else driving Teslas today has to take if they're doing home charging. You have to make sure, oh, yep, gotta plug in every time I get going, and then when you're ready to leave, you gotta unplug the car and then you get in. It's an extra step that if the truck was capable of giving itself range throughout the day, you wouldn't have to worry about that step. Also, a lot of people buying the Cybertruck likely already have a Tesla, so if they're on the weekend, you know, not using it for work and they just drive around the regular Model 3 or regular Model Y, that means you can get a full 30 miles of range over the weekend as the Cybertruck just sits there, and then when you're ready to go back to work on Monday, you didn't even have to plug it in. You got all these added miles to it. So I could totally see the market for this. In fact, I would be in favor of it if it does actually happen, but because it's kind of a cost-saving balancing act and you have to calculate yourself, wait, how is this going to save me money? And for the fact that, you know, if you leave the Cybertruck in the sun all the time, the cabin in the inside is going to get really, really hot, which means every time you get inside the Cybertruck, you're probably going to end up using a bunch of energy to cool it down. Maybe that impacts your true 15 miles of range statement. I could see Tesla scrapping this. I know Elon even made some early tweets saying that they wanted to do solar on the Model 3, and that got scrapped. And for the sake of production efficiencies, maybe they won't do it, or maybe too complex to add to the vault. I'd be really sad, but also kind of understanding if Tesla decides down the road, you know what, yeah, we're not even gonna bother, because electric cars are cheaper to operate in itself, so why do we need to add all this complexity to try to make it self-powered if everyone's just gonna leave it inside a garage or carport and plug it in with their other Teslas anyway? I really hope that doesn't happen, but at the same time, I could totally see why Tesla would just be like, too much work. What do you guys think is gonna happen? Would you put solar on your Cybertruck if it was like a $5,000 add-on? And if that's too much, what would be a reasonable amount for them to charge and you would think it to be worth it? Also, would you give up that glass roof option that the Cybertruck has just so that you could get some added range. There's all kinds of variables here, but feel free to hit me up over on Twitter, join my Discord. We can chat more about it there because I could just keep going on this all day. So you gotta stop me. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have an excellent day. Take care.